Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live stream. We have not one, but two guests today, which is very, very exciting. We have got two guests who know far more about cruising than me. They've taught me so much, and I'm really excited to have them on this live stream. So we've got Emma, my UK travel agent. I know lots of you know her in the comments, and also Dan, my agent from the US. Thank you so much to everybody who's already asking questions. If you can start a question with question in capital letters, it just makes it easier for me to pick out what is a question. And we will do our best to answer as many as we can. Sometimes the comments go pretty fast. So let's see if I can put these guys back in. I've muted them. I've put them behind the scenes. Let's try and put them back into the stream. Let's add Dan and add Emma. And I'm going to put myself back in the middle, if that's all right with you guys.
A rose between two thorns.
I like how I'm higher as well. That's quite cool. Thank you so much for coming on this live stream, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
So maybe I should say how I found you guys. I think that's probably a good start to this. So me and Emma, we've been working together a very long time now, haven't we? So it was back when most of the work that we did was cruise cancellations and moving things shut down. That was a long time, wasn't it? And I think I just found you kind of through my Facebook group. I booked a cruise through Emma, and it was so easy. It was so good for me because I'm not someone who likes it. You know, when you go to book a cruise and it says call for a price, I'm never going to call for a price. But Emma sent me a quote. It went straight into this account that I have. I approved it or declined it. Obviously approved it. And sort of from that point on, I think I've booked every cruise with you, Emma, and it's been fantastic. So hello, welcome to the stream. What side are you on?
This is so nice to be here after so long. Thank you very much for asking. Hi, everybody.
Normally you're sort of in the comments and I see other people having conversations with you, which is very cool. But after, I don't know how many years of working with Emma, I was like, I need to find an American version of Emma. And I found Dan, which Dan's not called Emma, but he does an amazing job in the US market. And I have learned so much. I didn't realize how different it is booking cruises in the US versus the UK. But yes, Dan, you do a fantastic job and I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the live stream.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's definitely an interesting market and I love the industry, and I've got a great team that helps me maintain and work through the customer inquiries for us.
We've been very, very busy. It's kind of the best time of year this time of year, isn't it? I think when people get through Christmas, it's cold, it's dark, everyone sort of wants to get away. So we already have questions in the comments. It's going very, very fast. If we don't kind of answer your question, it's not that we've seen it and decided to ignore it. It's just they come in thick and fast. So we will do the best that we can. I think, of course, maybe the main question, the first question that we get is, why would you book a cruise with a travel agent versus booking it direct? And in the past, I was not loyal to any sort of travel agent. I've tried the big travel agencies. I've tried little ones. I've booked direct. And it's okay if things go well, but I don't know how many hours Emma has spent on the phone talking to cruise lines for me, sorting out flights that are cancelled. In that situation, you know, it doesn't cost more to use the travel agent. And if you can have someone on your side who's sorting out everything for you and telling you things that the cruise lines don't tell you. Emma always tells me everything before the cruise line does. If I need a vaccine, if I get an upgrade, Emma tells me like 3 days before the cruise line. So to me, it just makes perfect sense to use an agent. The only reason I wouldn't is if I have, you know, sometimes we can use club card points and certain weird things like that. That's it. But every time I've done that recently, something has gone terribly wrong and I've had my flights cancelled and I've been sorting it out. And I'm like, I wish Emma was doing this for me, not myself.
I remember that message when your flights are cancelled and you said, I wish. But yeah, I wasn't doing anything behind the scenes to no voodoo or anything like that to make it go wrong because I hadn't booked it, I promise.
It's just difficult. It always happens like that. Hudson says hello as well.
Hello, hey, Hudson.
So do you guys kind of agree with that answer? Do you have anything to kind of add about why you'd use an agent versus booking direct?
Well, you're not going to get an impartial answer to this from Dan or me. But obviously you've touched on quite a bit of this, and people use a travel, and I do see that in the comments. I can see, and again, apologies, I can't reply to those, but I do see that in the comments as well. Sometimes it's just that when things go right, it's absolutely easy to deal with a cruise line or an airline or your hotel. And obviously, Travel Counsellors is a tour operator as well, so we do a lot of it where we'll put the whole thing together. So if you've got a cruise that's also tagged on to maybe a 3-week tour of Australia and your flights and so on, and something goes wrong, all of that has to be unravelled. And you might have the airline cooperates with you, but the cruise line doesn't, or vice versa. So when you've got somebody on your side to then unravel all of that, you're not then having to make those 15 potential phone calls. It could be that many. And it's like, as you say, cruise lines, I assume this is the same for yourself, actually. Apologies, Dan, if this isn't right in the States, but in the UK, your cruise will cost the same if you book online as what we see as on our travel agent booking portals. There's only one exception to that, and that's Marella, who who prefer not to speak to customers, and they'll incentivize people by, to do that and book online. So you're not going to get an impartial answer from me, but no. And we're very nice. And if I think, I get to know my customers so well. I mean, you'll have seen this, Emma, where it could be, I saw this and thought of you, and it might just be, this came out. I do that all the time. So sometimes it'll just be that I get to know my customers really well, and well enough to know if that's not the right cruise ship for them, or the right cruise line, or the right time of year for them. You can quite easily get carried away, and then people also think because it's 7:30 on a Friday night, they have to book something themselves online. But hey, generally I've got my laptop much later than that. I'm not going to commit to it anymore.
No, but, you seem to always, whenever I'm like, I have a crisis, this has happened, you're always straight on it. So.
Yeah, laptop's open, fire away.
Yeah. Anything to add?
I would definitely agree with that. The prices are set by the cruise lines. So you're not going to find instances where your agent is just raking up the price to try and get a commission from you. But the biggest benefit that I hear customers talk about is you're reachable. I can email you. I can talk with a human who is familiar with my history. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes we do have additional perks, like our agency may be able to get an extra onboard credit or something like that. Or just if we do a lot of volume in a specific cruise line or specific cruises, if we have a group rate established, you might get, $10 or $20 less on your booking, which isn't a lot, but there's small perks to that. So.
I also think, everyone who goes to a cruise line, that cruise line just says, we're the best cruise line and we will take your money regardless. And if you're a travel agent and someone comes to you and they're like, I absolutely do not want to be anywhere near children, here's a Disney cruise, you can be like, whoa, here's something else. About Disney, if you went to Disney and they would be like, oh, well, it's fine, there's adult only areas or something, which is true, but it's not, no cruise line is going to turn away anybody. So that's one thing I like about travel agents, especially if you're kind of new to cruising, because there's so much choice. I completely understand why people get so overwhelmed with it, because it's very confusing. And having someone who knows it, a friend who can sort it out for you, I think is just so helpful. So yes, I completely agree. We have got so many questions in here, my goodness. Let's go with, this is a good one. Do travel agents have more direct phone lines to the cruise lines than normal customer service?
In the UK, in the main, no. But the difference is that it's us holding on the line and maybe doing some other work whilst we spend that 3 to 4 hours holding. I think Celebrity's record was about 3.5 hours, and then it would cut off, and then you pick up the phone and do it again. It's not like that at the moment. It's lovely. Service is great. But yeah, there's a couple of them that will give us priority lines. But generally, no, we'll just go through that pain barrier, so you don't have to really. But yeah,
one of the things that is nice about an agent is a lot of the back-end agent portals that we can log into. We can initiate chat support sometimes. So if I initiate a chat support and I'm number 147 in line, I can type up a message, put in a booking number, and go through the rest of my day. And 3 hours later, I hear a ding. Well, my chat's next, and then I can, address it there. Whereas consumers usually don't have access to that, or some of the cruise lines that do have some chat support, the consumer or the traveler wouldn't necessarily know what to ask specifically in the verbiage that the cruise line level 1 support would understand.
Mhm.
So that's another very helpful reason to work with an agent.
Mhm. That's such a good point. I get so fed up on hold. I don't know how you do it, but I guess you've got other things to do at the same time. You're not watching it. It's not like, if I'm doing it, I'm like so I guess it's a bit different. A question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Continue.
no, I was just going to just say, so that you can go back to the question, but the when there's like a launch of a particular ship
Mhm.
or it's a new program or something, we'll have access to the system, and it's literally I've had people that have just said, it's okay, I'm getting up early, I'll book this at literally 8:29, and as it turns to 8:30, so by 8:31 they've got the booking. Otherwise they'd be on the phone at that time hoping that somebody answers the phone and maybe holding for 2 hours. So it's always handy when we've got these booking portals ready to use. We'll phone if you have to.
Yeah. Andrew has a question which goes back to what Dan said about booking a group rate. His travel agent got him a group rate on a cruise that he couldn't get himself, saying it was a group rate. What is that, and why do they exist? Oh, Dan, I can't hear you. There you go.
Sorry about that. So yes, I can. In group rates that come up, a lot of the large agencies, some of the mega companies, they will just upfront set group rates for thousands of cruises, and then start publishing and advertising those rates. Typically, as a family-owned or a smaller agency, we don't just blanket throw out group rates like that. But one of the things that I do, and as you know, with the history of travel with Brigetta, my grandmother Brigetta founded it, and it was primarily group cruises of her friends and people that she knew until she decided, hey, this actually is a business that I can help people with. So traditionally, we will select a half dozen cruises a year, set a large group rate, sell those within our groups, as well as doing the individual bookings for people. And typically group rates can have some additional perks. Like I said, usually a minuscule price difference, but some of the other options are things like refundable deposits while still maintaining that same discount rate of the non-refundable rate and things like that. So if that's something you're looking at, I would definitely, consult with your agent regarding that. And even if it's just a family cruise, if you're getting 2 or 3 cabins, ask your agent to create a group around that. Worst case, they create a group and reserve X number of cabins, book yours. And if they can't add anyone else to the fare or no one else adds in there, you still get that group rate and it's locked in and you go. So there's really no downsides other than it's a little bit more paperwork on our side, but I would say most agents are more than willing to do that for a customer.
That's cool. Yeah. Just thinking, as you said about your travel agencies, maybe we should talk about how you guys got into this line of work, I guess.
long time ago. I nearly didn't put the Ultra HD on my camera because you'd see the wrinkles and the grey hairs coming through. So 1992.
Oh, wow.
We were born then, Emma. 1992, I started in travel as the high street was big then in the UK. So the way that was pre-internet, of course. So you would go into a travel agency, usually pick up 5, 6, 7 different brochures and sit down with your travel agent and choose a holiday. And I was what they call a youth trainee. I was just about 17 then, and then worked up and did that. Although I have actually had time off to be a bank manager. I thought the travel wasn't going to last forever, and banking would. And look where we are now.
You're back.
Not many banks open on our high street, and travel is booming. So, So it must be, including that little gap to be in banking, probably 25 years in travel, possibly more. But long time. I love this job, and no day is the same. And people generally like to talk about holidays, whereas credit cards, not quite as sexy as cruising.
Can't imagine why you changed. It's the same for me going from insurance to cruising. People are like, why did you change? It's a bit different. So
so for me, my grandmother founded Travel with Brigetta back in the 80s and 90s. I always grew up around the industry. I remember as a child sitting around the kitchen table stuffing envelopes with mail out flyers and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them each summer trip that I would visit, and sending those out. And as far as me professionally, I'm pretty new to the industry. So my grandmother passed away early last year, and my father had been working in the travel industry with her for about 12 years prior to that. So he had taken over the agency, and I'd say probably spring to early summer last year, I had always been a big fan of yours, Emma, and with my father taking over the agency and adapting to post-COVID changes and what we had to do to make the agency survive. That's where you reached out and started a dialogue about a partnership with you. And unfortunately, shortly after that, my father passed away unexpectedly. So that left me with fully taking over the agency and maintaining the service for our clients and keeping the family legacy alive. And since that happened, I've brought in a couple of team members to help. I do also have my own day job and my own career lines and things that I do on the side in addition to travel. So I heavily rely on a team of amazing people. So I do work more than 100 hours a week. So it's a lot going on always. But I've got Kenzie, Samantha, and now Chloe who help me out with managing the cruises and our bus tours and everything within the business and the operation to keep things going.
Yeah, and they are fantastic all the time. And of course, about you, Emma, I get messages that say, I didn't have any idea what to do, and they came up with these fantastic ideas, and I booked this. And it's so nice to get those messages now, because for a while it was just, this is all going wrong. Can you move this? Can we lift and shift again and again and again when everything was shut down? So it is so nice. Oh, it's so good now.
I remember the day that the MSC Virtuosa sailed from Southampton. That was a great day because it was like, yes, something is finally sailing after so much time of unraveling everything. And it's so nice that people have remembered the help you might have given them. They may have booked elsewhere, but you were available, and you couldn't see a reward straight away for that, just goodwill, which is great, because obviously this is why I'm here today, really, is that helping those customers get out of a situation that they maybe couldn't have resolved themselves, or they didn't really know where to turn. So we've been able to help them, but now it's actually being able to send them tickets and welcome home postcards. It's like, yes, hurrah! You get so excited when someone's going.
Definitely were some of the as I said before I knew Emma, I used to use all the big travel agencies. I was not loyal to anyone. I've used everything, every single one you can name. I think I've used them over the years. And certain ones, the way they dealt with things during the shutdown, I would never go. They just were not equipped to deal with it. And we had to sort out quite a lot of their problems, didn't we?
We certainly did.
Thankfully, we did. We have a question from Jason. I think I can answer this one. And he says, if I can book the same cruise through the cruise line versus a travel agent, how does the travel agent gain profit? So, I mean, really, if you're booking direct through a cruise line, you're still paying for the same thing. You're just not getting any help from anybody. And the cruise line is just, you're just giving the cruise line more money, really. So travel agents
this is it. And the travel, certainly in the UK, I do assume it's the same in the US, but in the UK, we don't need to charge a service fee, a handling fee, a larger deposit, or anything like that. It is that they will realize that you have introduced that customer to that particular cruise line, and they will pay us a commission, which is from that gross figure. So they will bill us a slightly less figure than had they taken the payment in full from you. Sometimes the figure is where we can then undercut that particular cruise line. It's not a great thing to do. We don't, and certainly as a company, I know travel counsellors don't really want to be this, we will be cheaper than X, because we need to be paid. We're self-employed. We need to be paid for what we do. But if you could get that particular cruise either at the same price or less, but you get somebody to do all that work for you, then it's a no-brainer.
You're really paying, £100 for something. Either commission goes to Emma, or commission just goes to the cruise line, just keeps more money. That's it. It's not coming out of the person who's buying it. It's coming from the cruise line. So you're already kind of paying for something, and I think you might as well use it. So yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
one way that I look at that, sorry to chime in
no,
real
please
quick,
go ahead.
is
I'm just reading.
you'll see with a lot of industries as well, and it's the commissions that we get direct from the cruise line is in lieu of their additional marketing spend.
Mhm.
So instead of them spending X tens of millions of dollars more a year in marketing, they allocate that to travel agents because we are advocates who, on our own time, become experts in their products and actively seek out to sell their products for them. So it's a much more effective strategy than just, you know, throwing out Facebook ads and TV commercials, hoping that someone's going to call in and book, because it's a lot more profitable for them to pay us a commission rather than blanket ads.
Yeah. I have a question. I don't know what this word means. Do you guys know what this word means? But
Neophyte.
do you know what that means? Is it just me?
Don't know.
Okay.
Usually would mean young or new.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim, for the super chat, by the way. He asks, can I contact a travel agent and say I'd like to take a cheaper Mediterranean cruise inside cabin, flexible dates, and would like to go to certain places? Absolutely. That's most of the thing we do is people come with a vague idea. Sometimes people have no idea at all. And sometimes people say, I want this cabin, this date. I do that normally because, I'm in the cruise industry the entire time. Most of the time I know exactly what I want, but Emma will often, suggest better things. But yeah, that's what we do. That's kind of the point.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the tools as well. Sometimes you can actually we've got a purpose-built system that we use within our own company, and we can actually put in must call at this port of call, or a preference to depart from a certain place, and then we can generally check about 1 month for the entire month.
Yeah.
So we can find it. We do have one extreme to the other. Get yourself, Emma will say, I want this grade and I want that. This is the cruise number. You think, I have no work to do. And then we'll get other ones who will, it'll be so vague. And it may even, I'll get inquiries where somebody's family holiday, they've never thought of a cruise. And so it's a really rewarding booking to get when they've actually said, this dream holiday, and then of course they come back and they're completely hooked, or they booked on board and so on. So it's so rewarding then to find the right trip. We don't need to be given all the specifics. We want some info. So we do get some of the blank we do get blank forms all the time, but then we'll come back and say, yes, we've received it, let's talk about what you're looking for, and we can usually make some recommendations based on our experiences.
Yeah, I'd say about probably a good 85% of the submissions that I've gotten through you, Emma, are generalized. I want to do X. Can you help? And it could be things like I want to see the Northern Lights, or I want to, make sure that I can see the Northern Lights and the Norwegian fjords. And we look up that and we find the cruise lines, and then some people say, well, can you guarantee it happens? And the only cruise line that has any kind of guarantee that I've found has been Hardegruten. Which I'm sure I pronounced horribly. They have a guarantee or your money back, but then is that really the right cruise line for this customer? Probably not, based on their being more accustomed to English operated or English speaking cruise lines. So what I would say is whatever information you guys have, whether that be dates, type of cruise, if you have a specific cruise line, just provide your preferences, and your travel agent will do all the legwork and find the options for you. And it may be that you say, hey, I like Holland America, I want to do this. And they look and say, well, realistically, Princess is going to be better for this line, and we can certainly book you on a Holland, but XYZ, and present the options.
Sounds fantastic. We have a next question that says, are there any rooms that travel agents can book that I can't book directly? Ooh. Let you guys take
sometimes if there's a group allocation. So as Dan's touched on, sometimes we've had this before. I think it's more the norm in the US where there is a group allocation. What we tend to do is, if there's something where we know we can probably fill 50 cabins, and then those 50 are the only ones left because the other cabins have gone, then we'll have those. But generally what you can see, we can see, the price that you'll see online will be the price I can see on there. So again, it just reiterates that. And and what we do say is, the cruise industry love the travel industry. They're not, they love travel agents. They love working with us. So they don't want us to lose custom when we're the ones who may have introduced cruising to their brand new cruises anyway. So we work really well with the cruise lines. They adore travel agents, and they like, they're fair to us. They it's called price parity. So you look at that price. I've had the query today. Oh, is that offer that Asmara are offering, is that available through you as well? Absolutely it is, with some extra perks that we had.
What I do every single time, I'm constantly looking at cruises, of course, because I do this all day, every day, but I will just send Emma something and be like, oh, I've seen this. How about just add my quote? And you're adding quotes for me all the time. And I think I don't know if I've ever declined any. I always accept them. But I really like using travel counselors in the UK because I can pay in the app. And when I want to pay, I can just do it on my phone. And I quite like that. Anything to add on blocked rooms, Dan?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of that. Now, one of the things that I did want to mention a bit as well is the price that you see on the cruise line website is kind of the same kind of prices that we can get, with the caveat of sometimes there's a dozen different promotions available, but the website shows you the one that they select, or the one that they're highlighting, or the 2 adults you get your kids free, or whatever the flavor of the week is. Whereas in the background, sometimes we can say, well, let's remove that promotion, let's add this promotion, and get some play in there. So you're not always going to be able to find a cheaper rate, but sometimes that's possible. One of the things that I really like that Princess is doing right now is they have a really good promotion where almost all of their fares, you can get the Princess Plus added in there, significantly cheaper than if you actually bought it. So you get a device Wi-Fi, free gratuities, your beverage packages. Now they've added desserts and fitness classes and things in it. But for some people that just say, I have zero interest in any of that, we can even go in and strip that out, go down to a base fare. And even though the value proposition isn't quite there, if they're not going to use any of that, we can, maybe save them a couple $100 over a 7-day cruise or something by doing that. So that's another area where the website may not have that immediately there because they're trying to push this big promotion. And it's not that we can just undercut and charge a lower rate than Princess themselves could. We're just selectively altering the promotions that apply to your booking to cater it more to you.
Yeah. I will say sometimes the things that make it, cheaper or better, they don't always make sense. Sometimes someone will be like, I want to book 2 inside cabins, 3 inside cabins. It's cheaper to get a suite at that point. Or, sometimes it's cheaper to get like a yacht club on MSC because it includes the drinks if you're going to add that anyway. It's things like that, the cruise lines, that if you're booking it on the website, it's not going to flash up with like, would you like this instead? It's cheaper, obviously not. But I know you guys would probably, know so many of those things.
We'll save so much time because, and we get this exasperating email sometimes. Please, it's driving me insane. I'm back to square one because I just don't know what the best offer is. An example in the UK is P&O has an early saver versus a select saver. So a select saver might have a really generous onboard credit. So when you take that into consideration, that's lower than the early saver. But of course, on the website, you're going to see the early saver and not see in the background that the select saver may be better with a really generous onboard credit in addition to free parking or free coach travel. So fairly easy for us to suss that out. And as Dan said there, you're not going to push Princess Plus because it suits you. You're going to find that maybe a Princess Fare is better for that customer because they're not going to benefit from that extra cost.
Yeah. I love this comment that says, I love my travel agents. I hardly schedule a trip to the grocery store without asking them.
We love that.
That's so lovely.
I love you too.
Yes, here is the link. If you do want to book, if you're in the US or the UK, here is the link on my website. It is all over all of my social accounts. So hopefully it's easy enough to find. Oh, question from Peter. This is a good one. He says, do you ever tell clients to wait because it might be cheaper later? Oh, that's a good one.
I think sometimes you'll have a gut feeling that an offer. I've done it myself. I priced a 2024 cruise for my own holiday. I thought, no, not prepared to pay that.
Mhm.
So, and I knew that actually isn't in line with what I would, and no prices have gone up. You know, you see some costs, and we knew that was going to come. You know, post COVID, they're going to recoup the costs, the losses. But I don't really want to do that. I don't want to be the person who would then be responsible if that person has
so
lost
like, oh,
out.
it's sold out, or it's double the price.
Yeah,
It's a bit
I think some of
different.
the things. Yeah, sorry, I'm
Like-
talking over you. I think there's a delay there. Sorry.
Sorry, no, for us in the UK, I get asked a lot in the comments I see here, what is the kind of differences between booking a cruise in the UK and the US? In the US, I think the prices are more confusing in the US because you add on all the fees, you add on all the taxes. In the UK, we don't want to do any of that. We don't want to see it. We just tend to see the price and book it. But in the US, the sort of booking terms for if the prices drop, you seem to have a lot more flexibility there and get things that us in the UK don't get.
That's not fair.
Yeah,
it probably is different if you're in the US.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons there's so many line items in there is different states have different tax rates that the cruise lines all have to adapt to. Additionally, you know, if you're a resident of the state you're embarking from, you can get, you know, an additional discount on your cruise because you live in the state that you're leaving from. So there's a number of line item options in there that is intriguing that honestly we can't even know until we get in there and start doing a quote in a book.
Yeah.
But on the question of, you know, should I wait because the rate's going to go down? I've gotten that so many times through submissions of, oh, I want to book last minute because that's when they go on flash sales. It's like sometimes, or maybe it'll be 3 times the cost and you don't get to go on your trip. And all the times people will reach out, you know, I want to do this cruise, but I want to pay $60 a night per person. And somebody's like, I mean, that's not available now. It might come into a flash sale, but it might not. And it's difficult as an agent to properly advise someone who wants to go on the trip, but they've set a threshold of, I'm only going to pay, you know, super sale rates, when we don't have a schedule of this super sale is going to happen, or it's, you know, not going to happen, or it might. So I don't want to disappoint someone. And again, like you said, Emma, not make a promise that yes, it'll go down and then it doesn't. So it's difficult to say. I would say decide that you want to go on a trip first, budget it, and make sure that you can have it, and then we'll continue to monitor the rates and see if we can save money or do a rebook and get things cheaper. But counting on the cruise line to just decide, hey, we want less money now than we did 2 months ago, is probably not going to be an effective strategy.
He keeps pulling out my headphones. I was wondering what the rattling sound was in the background of but it was Hudson opening this packet. So that's what it was.
Well, he's very naughty. You see, we're not talking enough to him or about him,
No.
so he's making us aware of his presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, my microphone's over there, so sorry if all you can hear is sweets, but I'll just Hudson some, and then hopefully he'll be okay. Hudson.
I think another, you know,
there we go. Ooh.
Sorry, there's a delay, so it's sometimes that Dan and I are talking at the same time. I think some of the, you know, the tips are, you know, are you happy that if that cruise you have your heart set on, if that's full because you're waiting for a saving, do you have a suitable plan B?
Mm-hmm.
Are you stuck to a certain Saturday because that's the only time in the school holidays you could possibly sail? Don't wait. Same with the airfares, they just go up and up and up as the availability reduces. So, or is there a particular level of suite, and the suites always go first? Yeah. So note that as well. But is there a suite or a type of cabin where they don't actually have 300 of those on board, or 400, and so on? Is it really important to have deck 8 at that particular, you know, part of you know, if it's really important, if you've narrowed down your preferences so much, I'd book and commit early. And you might be lucky in that we've got something like a low deposit where you think, well, if the price does drop, I've only paid £1 or £50. Yeah, exactly. I've paid a low deposit, and I'm prepared to take that gamble that I maybe lose that in order to rebook and save money. So I think if you've got lots of alternatives, you can go anytime. By all means, see what there is going in 2 weeks' time. But,
yeah, I mean, it's obviously a bit different for me now with my line of work, but sometimes, you know, I'll be like, oh, I'll eye that up. That would be kind of nice, but I'll wait and see if that's what I want to do at the time. If not, there's other options. But yeah, if you want to do something, so they sell out. I don't think people realize that cruises sell out, but cruises sell out, and they sell out some very, very fast. Hudson is just he's just well trained. When he sees these lights, he thinks he's going to get snacks, but we are out of dreamies. We're out of dreamies at the moment. Oh my goodness, we've got so many comments. Thank you so much to everyone who is commenting and asking questions in the chat. We'll answer as many as we can, but it goes so fast. But of course, feel free if you want to fill in our form on our website. If you have some ideas and want to ask questions about it, that's absolutely fair. This is a good question. I've never really thought about this, but is it appropriate to ask for references for a travel agent? This is what's so tricky, I think. You, of course, have my reference of Dan and Emma, and that's why we've worked together for a long time. I worked with Dan kind of behind the scenes for quite a long time before we sort of announced this online, because I need that. I need the references. I get references from people who have booked. But yeah, there's not, I mean, of course you have on your website and stuff, you have references, but it's tricky. I understand why people get kind of overwhelmed and confused with it. So yes.
And I wouldn't be offended if somebody said, oh, I mean, what's great is there are so many people that based on the service they get, they'll then tell somebody else, or they'll tell quite a few people, like yourself would tell hundreds and thousands of people now. So, we have other customers that do that, and they'll recommend us. So if we've had a recommendation, that is the best advertisement we will ever have, is a recommendation for somebody who's been really happy with the service and is confident to refer you. But I wouldn't be offended if somebody said, can I see some of your testimonials? I have those on my website. They're amazing. I love those. Same on the Facebook reviews as well. So people, we don't actively ask for that. I'll have that conversation with customers. Is there anybody who you might know that might need my help, for example? So we'll ask that generally when we speak to our customers, but it wouldn't offend me to be asked for. I'd probably say, rather than references, I'd be expecting, oh gosh, you want my bank manager's recommendation. But I would probably say, oh, I'd love to see some of your testimonials. Have you got any of those on your website? That wouldn't offend me in any way.
Yeah, I mean, our Facebook group that we've had for a long time, you're recommended all the time in there because we've been in there for so long. But yeah, that's why, obviously me and Dan started working together. I can't book a cruise. I'm not from the US, so I can't use a US agent, which is why, I've got so many feedback and things of working with Dan and your team, and they're absolutely lovely. But that's why it's taken me a bit more time to kind of find the US agent versus a UK one, because I'm from the UK. So hopefully that makes sense. I know for a long time, it was like, when are you going to do the US? I wanted to find somebody who I could have recommended anybody from the start, but I wanted to find someone who I really trusted. So that is why we're here. That's why I picked Dan and Dan's lovely team. And Emma's got a lovely team as well. We've been very busy lately, so we've got all kinds of...
We've had to get extra travel counsellors to help here. So they're just as obsessed with cruising. They're probably tuned in now, but they're just as obsessed with cruising as I am. So it's a great team that we've got.
They are fantastic. We've got a question about, my mother uses a wheelchair. What should we know before booking a cruise? I'd say book it early because those accessible rooms. Anything to add?
Yeah, I would say book it early. There are a limited number of accessible rooms on the ship. Notify your travel agent, or if you're working directly with the cruise line, notify them at least 30 days in advance, and they can facilitate help getting on the ship. And then additionally, there are third-party systems out there that can let you rent scooters and things. So we're partnered in the US with a company called Scoot Around. And every ship I'm on, I see someone with the Scoot Around scooters on board, and it's very affordable, and you can get the full insurance, so you don't have to worry if it falls off the pier or gets stolen because you're in Jamaica dealing with some difficult situations. But it's so convenient because cruise ships are getting bigger and bigger. And if you are chair bound, or even if you're not, but you have some difficulties walking long distances, for a very affordable rate, you can have this that the company delivers to your cabin on embarkation day, and they'll pick it up from your cabin when you get back. And it's just a rental that you have for your entire trip, and you can take it off the ship on your excursions. It's a phenomenal offering.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a similar setup, mobility at sea. So very similar setup, very, very well organized, and that can be at Southampton, it could be overseas. So we don't have to do that. The key thing in it is actually, yes, to tell us straight away that we're a wheelchair user. An example in the UK is EmmaCruises won't just let you take a wheelchair and be in a normal cabin. They will want you to have an accessible cabin, regardless of how much you need. All of those facilities are of an accessible cabin, but their sister brand Princess don't have the same regulation. But that's another reason why you would want somebody like us to hold your hand, really, is to make sure that you're not going to something not unsuitable when you arrive, or refuse boarding. You don't want to go all that way and be about to get on the ship and they've said no, you haven't told us in advance. It's a fairly straightforward thing for us to do, to put in the special requirements form. If you can help us with things like what type of wheelchair, if it's a dry cell or a wet cell battery, if it's a battery operated wheelchair, or whether it's collapsible, the dimensions of that, you'll have those when to hand. That is really helpful. But yes, if we've got any sort of motorized, we do need the dimensions of that, because we want to make sure that information is passed on to the cruise line.
Yeah. I think people think, the cruise lines won't do that. They do deny boarding.
Yes, they do. They do.
On the topic of accessibility and special accommodations and things, if you have other needs or difficulties, if you need a special fridge for insulin or a sharps container, some type CPAP machine sometimes, all of that stuff, which isn't really advertised, can be accommodated for and is available through either complementary distributions or sometimes with specialty machines, rentals. Even dialysis at sea is a possibility for those. So if you're traveling with a loved one or a family member and you think, well, if they have to get dialysis once or twice a week and can't leave because of that, there are ways around that, and definitely include them in your vacation. Don't leave them home.
Yeah, it just takes a bit more. You just have to be a bit more planning, doesn't it? It's all possible. You just have to sort of don't just leave things to the last minute. And I see a comment from my mum who's in the chat. Hello to my mum. She says, Emma suggested an aft balcony on Princess. Would never have considered one, and it was great. It was really good. Yeah, it was interesting. I like those kind of quirky things. Bit different cabins, and I'm
a Princess fan. I cruise on Princess as well, so I can usually say I had this type of cabin. This is another perk of us going and
I think that
sampling the product.
That one wasn't much more expensive, or wasn't more expensive than a regular balcony, was it? I think that's probably why you suggested it, and it was really nice. It was very cool. I really liked it. Oh my goodness, so many questions. I don't even know where to begin.
I did actually spot a question.
Oh yeah, please.
I spotted a question about, do travel agents insist on selling travel insurance? No. In the UK, that is not allowed. That's regulated. In travel insurance, sales are regulated. The cruise lines will insist that you are insured, and our duty of care to you is to make sure that you have got that insurance before you refuse boarding, because you may be asked to show that policy upon check-in. But the regulation of insurance has meant that we would not then say, and this is your, when I started in travel, you sold a holiday and it included travel insurance. It was quite hidden what the cost of that travel insurance was. There's none of that these days. There's no, you're not permitted to just, to insist on that. And I don't think that should be a conversation any regulated travel agent is having as an introducer to an insurance company. So, and if you have, it's not allowed.
Yeah.
Interesting. So here in the US, I almost always include it in the quote unless the customer specifically says, I have my own annual policy or I've got my own. I usually include whatever the cruise line has in part of the quote. And I say, hey, this is your amount for travel insurance. This is what it's covered. It's not required here for customers to have it, but I always recommend it. I had an incident in November where we had a couple that did a Carnival partial transit Panama Canal cruise, and one of the travelers got sick and they were hospitalized in Limon and had to go to Costa Rica, and tens and tens of thousands of dollars in medical expenses. And travel insurance isn't a magic refund button. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of steps to go through, but it's better than losing tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So it's very helpful to have there. And I always recommend anyone doing any form of travel absolutely have it. You never know what's going to happen. It could be something as simple as you trip and break an ankle, and now you're in a foreign country where you're needing medical attention, and you've got massive bills because your medical coverage back home won't cover it. So
yeah, I think, I mean, for me, I've claimed on mine a couple of times this year because I smashed my camera when I was cycling in Germany. It fell off the bike and smashed it. So that was a claim. I've missed cruise ports, and the insurance I have has missed cruise port cover. It's a lot of forms and it takes ages, but I think future me in 2 months is going to want £100 still. So it's well worth doing.
True.
And I because of how much I cruise, I normally come up with missed ports because things go wrong all the time. I've had so many cancelled flights and things recently. I don't know why, but it's just sort of all happening. Question from Peter, and he says, are there any cruise lines who agents cannot book? Probably different for the two of you, but I know.
There's a couple, and this will be commercially for each company. So travel counsellors deal with a majority. For travel counsellors, we don't have a relationship with Costa, but that may be simply because Costa doesn't liaise with our commercial team. It could be anything to do with payments. It could be them not completing some documentation and the agreement isn't there. So that's for our commercial team to battle out with them. Or we've not had the demand for a particular supplier for us to get to that negotiation level. So for us, probably the obvious one is Costa. AIDA, it doesn't have a contract with us as a UK cruise line, as a UK tour operator. That's about it really. More for Dan possibly.
Yeah, we've got a number of them. Actually, P&O is one that only works with one agency in the US. So it's been a bit of a struggle because we have to kind of subcontract through them, which is fine, and they take a rake off the top. But the difficult part of that is I can't log into a P&O portal and press buttons and get a quote. I have to collect all the information from the customer, jump on the phone with these guys, get a quote within a day, get back. So it's that's one of the frustrating things. And what I've found recently, and hopefully they don't come after and smite me, but as I mentioned, I'm new to stepping into this role because of taking over the family agency. But a lot of the high-end luxury lines have been really slow to respond to getting me into my agency portal or even enrolling us, like Viking and Windstar and these groups like that aren't part of the big conglomeracies where I can log into the portals there. And I don't understand. It's been difficult. Like I send them, go through the processes, send them emails. It's like I can't imagine how difficult it would be for a customer trying to work with them. But things like, hey, I've got someone who wants to book a $30,000 cruise, and they won't email me back to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, Viking Viking in the UK seem to have gone a direct sell, or likely it's a cost-cutting post-COVID recovery measure, which is a bit of a shame. But great product at Viking, but no, they're not commercially. They're not dealing with any travel agents in the UK, which is a shame because we support these cruise lines. We'd like them to support us as well, but if that's a commercial decision they've made, that's what they've done.
But still, I mean, all of the major cruise lines, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, all the Carnival brands, Princess, all
we know them inside out.
Yeah, we know them inside out. And that's most of the cruises are kind of the mainstream ones that we book, I think, most of. So, but yeah, interesting, strange. Jamie asks, have you got any tips for combining a cruise with a land stay? Ooh, interesting.
Oh, I love these. Yeah. Yes, I love these. I do that all the time. That's because you want to enhance your trip, and I think certainly in the UK, and now we think about the things that tripped people up during COVID, was that they may have had a flight, they may have had a tour, they may have had a hotel, they may have done their own arrangements to see relatives or a wedding, as Jamie's mentioned. So when maybe the cruise is cancelled, but the tour's still going ahead, and the tour organizer would have said, no, you're not having your refund. No. When we get to put all those packages together, and we have this magic atoll certificate to wave at our customers when we book, to show that the flights are because you book two components, a flight and a cruise or a flight and a hotel, you'll get this wonderful package that's protected. And if any part of that package collapses, as we had in COVID, the whole package has failed, and then it's our responsibility as the organizer, as the tour organizer, to re-protect that, and whether it means we then write off the cost of the flights even if we're not getting a refund. So the protection is there. Plus, it's also a question of thinking, what works well to post pre or post cruise. So yeah, there's some fabulous itineraries you put together. I love those, and you just sort of present this, lovely multi-center with a cruise in the middle, or an extended stay. It's lovely.
It's definitely exciting to look into that, because oftentimes when you focus so much on cruising itself, you don't necessarily get to see what is there to do in this place. So when questions come in, hey, I want to fly into Amsterdam 4 days early and do something there before I get on the ship, absolutely. And we're I don't know about you guys out in the UK, Emma, but we are partnered with a couple of third-party excursion companies as well that do stuff that's not related to ships. And we are members of a conglomeracy called TLN, where we can book hotels. I think there's like 500,000 hotels worldwide that I have access to book with. So when someone comes in ahead of time and we get that in place, we can find them hotels and say, hey, here's a link to excursions available in this date range, and you can look at history tours, you can look at any of that stuff, book directly with the tour provider. And they, just like the cruise lines, have a commission structure and give someone a significant opportunity to pick all of the options that they want, instead of me saying, oh, well, I would like to go do X, Y, and Z, so you should too. I can say, here's a portal where you can say, I want art and history, or I want nightlife, or I want to go on a food tour or a wine tour, where they can custom look at what they want to do, because it's not about what I want. It's not about telling someone what I would enjoy. I want to see the pictures, but I want you to have the best time of your life, so you come back for your next one.
Very easy to long answer to that question, Jamie, but we can put in as much or as little as you like with the cruise.
Yes, very good answer.
Very easily.
A question from John for me, and he says about the live stream, and if questions here aren't answered, will they be looked at? I can't reply to anything in the live stream. Like, the live stream chat is gone forever. Once you can replay it, but I can't reply. So I can't reply to what's in here. If you leave a comment on the video after it's live, then I can see it and reply. Or, of course, if you fill in our form, then it'll come through. Either it'll come in the path with me and Emma on it, or it'll come in the path with me and Dan on it.
Little British flag and then a US flag,
It gets in, and it's like, oh, well, that way or that way. And it's been interesting for me working with Dan, because in the UK, I mean, we have a UK price. We don't have different states that have different. I had really no idea about that. We don't get different discounts for being, like, if you're from Southampton, like, it doesn't work like that. So I've added a few things sort of to the US form, because it's just different. I had really no idea.
And a lot of that comes down to a lot of that is different states have different laws and requirements regarding their insurances as well. So like the state of New York cannot sell platinum or premium insurance through any of the cruise lines. You can only have basic trip protection, and you would have to go through a third party for alternative insurances. So it's really odd the way that some of that goes.
Oh my goodness, my brain's hurting just thinking about that, to be honest, Dan.
It's a whole new thing, and I completely understand. I mean, I understand why people feel so overwhelmed with it. I think that's the main thing with cruising is people just think everyone is telling me that it's the best place to go. This is the best cruise. Every cabin is the best. Every restaurant, you've got to do everything. And you don't. You really do not. I mean, I tend to do my cruises. I don't pay extra for the specialty meals. I don't stay in the nicest cabins, although I am taking a cruise on P&O Iona soon, and I think at least 50% of the people I know on that cruise have been upgraded. Do you think that's right, Emma?
Yeah.
I've had an upgrade, and it's
sent another 5 notifications today. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a thing, you know. Emma emailed me and said you've been upgraded. Fantastic. But I wouldn't know that through P&O unless I logged into the portal and reprinted my luggage tags, which I already had printed, which had the old ones on it, because P&O don't seem to email me. They seem to email me saying buy this, buy that, but they don't seem to email me with my upgrades and stuff. But Emma always does, and I really like it when you send me emails during COVID, particularly. You would highlight certain things in yellow, which was just so helpful.
Please read this.
Yeah.
We've
got so many people in the chat. We've got the cruise boys in here. Josh says hi. Hello to Josh.
Hello, Josh.
Plenty of cruises for them over the last years. There's a question about which cruise line do you think has the best complimentary food? I'm all about the complimentary food. Which would you recommend for food?
Tricky. I'm with you on Azamara.
But yeah.
I love the food on NCL.
Mm-hmm.
Princess. Do you know? I mean, I'm a girl who likes my food.
Yep,
I don't think I've had bad food on a cruise line. So you're in the right. You know, for foodies, and I was pleasantly surprised with Virgin Voyages food. Specialty dining, there's no extra charge. Yep. Really thought that was really impressive, and I think it's because I wasn't expecting it to be so good.
Yeah.
Oceania food is incredible. If you've sailed on Oceania, very briefly, but yeah. We'll make, if that's a really key indicator of which cruise line, let us know in the form. You know, I'm a real foodie. I love to eat at. Even tell us the sorts of restaurants you like or the preferences. That's really helpful, because we might say, gosh, the food is really important to you, and this one has won awards for its food, or this particular ship might have won awards for its food, so let's send you on this one and try that. We want to know really what's important, not things that you'd hate. We'd love to hear about that. Please don't send me. I had one today and I loved it. I would like this. I would like anything apart from this.
Yeah,
that's really good info for us. Yeah, great info. It makes us laugh as well.
Dan, any foods?
I just got off the Ruby Princess, as I mentioned, and so it's not, everything's adapted post-COVID. The food was not as good as I remember last time I was on Princess, but it was also a brand new crew. Ruby is operating out of Galveston right now. She came down here about 6 weeks ago from the West Coast. At that time of change, after leaving San Francisco, coming down, they had about 90% of their crew swapped out with brand new crew. So it's a learning curve. I was just excited to see Princess down in Galveston again.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to jump on my first Royal Caribbean down there out of their new port. And word on the street is MSC is moving down to Galveston, which just for me, being a Central Texas resident, that's my home port, and I'm excited to see that.
Amazing.
So now we'll have, we've got Carnival and Disney, and Royal now has their own port, and see MSC coming down here. And I'm hoping with those other terminals open up, that'll leave some space for Princess to come through again. Because the agency's done most of their work with Princess. That was always my grandmother's favorite over the decades. And I've been on more Princess cruises than other lines. But I feel like they've been out of Texas for so long that it's optimal for them to come back. And with the changes that Princess has made, they are no longer that kind of older, stuffy crowd, and it's a much more of a mixed group, kind of like a Norwegian style, where you're not quite as young and rowdy, but you're not the old people anymore.
Yeah, not quite the go-karts, but I really like Princess. They have some really, really lovely ships. I've done some of I did Golden Princess, which isn't with them anymore, up to Sky Princess, and they're all lovely. So, Yes, it is. It is almost the end of this live stream. That's gone very, very fast, doesn't it?
It always goes so quickly, doesn't it?
It goes super fast. Does it go fast on the other end as well, Emma? Because I know you're in the comments, but I'm only here, so I don't know. It does.
Suddenly it's 6 o'clock. I think, gosh, where's that time gone?
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
so sorry we've not answered all these questions, but
They go
please,
so fast.
please put those on, honestly, but send those in the forms if you've got initial. We're not just here when the forms come through, we're not just here to make a booking for you. If you want, it takes some time to do your research, doesn't it? So, we're quite happy to try and guide you in the right direction. No, obviously, Emma offers that service as well.
It sounds amazing. Yes. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us for this live stream. Thank you so much for all your questions. I really, really appreciate it. This has been so much fun. Thank you for all the work you do, you two. My goodness. I really appreciate it.
Love it.
Okay. I will be here next week. Normal time, normal place. I will see you guys then. Goodbye, everybody. The link's on my website.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.